Growing up, I was in a Quaker family, which was a small community that, in fact, my parents were part of a traditional family, and therefore we grew up. I grew up using the words "thee" and "thy" for "you" and "your" in our language. So we actually said, "Did thee do thy homework?" or "Would thee pass me the salt?" And that was very normal to me and very easy to deal with. It was well, I was very familiar with that. But when I went out into the world to the Boy Scouts, I found that kids mocked me and thought I was goofy and weird and different. And it actually first sort of, I found it curious, but when they literally sort of rejected me as kind of, they thought I was Amish or I was not going to be able to deal with money or all kinds of things, I felt like it was really, it drew a wall between me and them. And it wasn't a very serious form of intolerance in the sense that it didn't injure me and didn't limit my potential very much, but it certainly opened my eyes to the idea that even a small thing, what I considered to be a tiny thing, was a big thing to them and was a big difference, even though it wasn't even externally visible. That I was not externally a lot different than they were. They found me different and they mocked me and kept me separate. And I feel like that has attuned me to a certain sort of way of thinking about other people and trying not very hard not to judge people based on what I consider to be either incredibly superficial or in fact sometimes very different, but at some deep level very superficial differences in the way people think and the way people look and the way people act and the way people talk. I grew up also in a family where traditionally the men are quite tall, so I ended up tall. It happened all at once in the end of my high school career, but as a result, often in meetings people will turn to me as if I have something, I'm the leader of the meeting because I'm the tall guy, which is a really funny thing to me. I'll sometimes sort of slouch down a little bit when I'm speaking to people because the last thing I want to talk about is how tall I am. It's one of the least important things in the entire conversation. I think our society way overvalues a lot of different physical attributes, and I think being tall is one of them. Being tall and being therefore the beneficiary of having people literally look up to me means that people sometimes think I'm the leader of the group or the one who should have the opinion. And that's had a lot of impact on me as a student, as a teacher, as a professional. And I think it's a repeating lesson for me how often that happens. And in fact, from people who will say that they don't do that, and yet they actually act on that very unconsciously. It's really interesting.